All right, thanks for joining us this morning, everyone. Just please use the raise hand function for questions for Coach Traylor, and wait for me to call on you. JJ, you can start us off.
Jeff, after watching film from week one, what were your biggest takeaways this week?
Defensively, we flew around. Too many penalties from emotion, but our effort was fantastic. Our physicality was fantastic. A couple of MAs, but not very high. Offensively, started off really good. Lost some routine, lost some rhythm. Not good enough to overcome penalties. Kennesaw did a really good job with their front. Did a great job. Special teams wise, and too many pre-snap penalties as well. Obviously, the holding penalties were critical. We had quite a few of those. Special teams wise, our specialists just didn't play very well, other than Tate Sandell, and a lot of stuff to work on.
Greg?
Jeff, did watching the film back reveal anything about what might have led to some of the protection issues that you encountered on the O-line that you talked about after the game?
2 MAs by the running backs. That hurt. They made a great call once on one of our empties. Some of that's coaching, so kudos to them. They did a really good job of their movement. They cross-faced very well. That hurt us. So when you can't run the ball, it's a lot easier for the defense, obviously, and our inability to run the ball hurt us. And when we did get some success going, we had a penalty and we couldn't overcome 1st and 20 or 1st and 15. That was very disappointing. I think we jumped off sides twice. I think we had 4 holding penalties. We're just not good enough yet, men, to overcome all that stuff.
Do you see a lot of room for growth with that group up front as they get to know each other? I know there's 3 new starters up there who haven't played together before.
Yes. The problem is we have a very big game in 5 days, so how much growth can happen in 5 days? We're fixing to find out.
Steven?
Coach, speaking of that game, did you watch any of the Texas State-Lamar game, and what stood out to you about Texas State?
They look like a team that's got 18 returners. They look like a team that went and got the Sun Belt Player of the Year at quarterback. They're dynamic at receiver. Their O-line is massive. Their back is fantastic. They got a great scheme. They're one of the best offenses in the country for a reason. Defensively, they fly around. They're very physical up front. Those guys up front they're really good. And their secondaries, all returners. They gave us heck last year. We couldn't get open last year either. They're a really good football team. GJ's done a fantastic job. They deserve all the press, all the credit. They deserve all that. They've done a fantastic job.
Okay, Colton, you're next.
Hello, Coach Traylor. Colton McWilliams from the San Marcos Daily Record. This game between Texas State and UTSA, it's always been a big one. Last year, over 49,000 people in the Alamo Dome. Just what can you say about you and your relationship with Coach Kenny, and how, what does this kind of game mean to, UTSA in particular?
As far as my relationship with GJ, I think that's pretty well documented. I mean, he was my quarterback, and he's like a son to me in every sense of the word. We communicate very frequently, and I don't really talk to very many head coaches. But he's one that we talk to quite a bit, and I'm very happy for his success. It doesn't surprise me at all. I coached with him at SMU. I coached with him in Arkansas. I would probably say he would speak to me as one of his mentors or father figure, and I would say the same of him. He's literally like one of my own kids, and I'll be rooting for him every single day until Saturday at 3 o'clock.
JJ?
Jeff, how would you, after watching film, how would you summarize how Owen played week one?
I would say he was really good. I mean, whenever you can't protect a quarterback and you can't run the ball, it's going to look like the quarterback's not playing well. But when we protected him and we ran the ball well, what he looks at, he hits. He's a better athlete than people think that he is. We just got to do a better job of protecting him. But I thought he played really well.
Greg.
Jeff, sticking on Owen, how would you rate his command of the offense in his first game, his ability to kind of make the reads and do the checks that he needed to make at the line of scrimmage before the snap?
Exceptional.
I know you mentioned after the game that he got spooked a little bit at times because of the pressure he was under. How do you, what do you look for in those situations, or how do you want him to handle those kind of scenarios when they pop up?
We've got to do a better job as a coaching staff to help that kid in those situations. That's on me.
Along the same lines, kind of the downfield shots you said you were looking for, is that something that schematically wasn't there, or is it something that he wasn't looking for? How do you approach kind of getting that up to the level you want?
We've got to protect him better so we have the opportunity to do it. So that's on me as well.
All right, back to you, Colton.
Coach, these games between Texas State and UTSA have always been really competitive. I know the road runners have kind of had the advantage over the Bobcats these past few years, but how is this game like different than most games?
I think the two fan bases really enjoy playing each other. I think the excitement, those kind of things are always fun. But as far as for us, it's another game. I mean, we got to get prepared and go to work. It's game 2. We've got stuff to work on, man. We got a lot of problems right now, and we got to get them fixed. But I know the fans really enjoy playing each other, and I have a ton of respect for GJ and that staff there. I mean, Coach Morris is on that staff, who I've worked for. Matt Leftwich is a kid I've known literally forever. His father and I are very good friends. Will Bryant I've been with Will. He's been on my staff. There's just a lot of Daniel DePrado. I've worked with him. He's worked for me. A lot of close relationships, a lot of recruiting battles, a lot of players on their team we tried to get, a lot of players on our team they tried to get. We've got players on our team that have played for them. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of familiarity and a lot of respect from us towards them for sure.
JJ.
Jeff, how's the health of your team coming out of week 1?
We've got 16, on the injured list, but that's pretty common for a game. We'll be in there getting treatment like we've been doing yesterday and today, and we'll see how many of them are at practice tomorrow, and we'll make a decision from there.
Did you get an update on Jaron Rando? That looked pretty gruesome.
Yeah, that's tough to look at. We've had a few of those now. With Gavin and JT and Brendan Brady, we've had some of those. Where you look at them, it's hard to look at. It's a violent game, played by a bunch of tough kids, and it's crazy. I just told Jaron the day before, he's one of my favorite kids I've ever coached in my life. I mean, he's a local kid. Dad's a high school football coach. Yes, sir, no, sir. Does nothing but works his butt off every day. He's an amazing kid. We did get good news once we got in there. It's not going to be season ending, but he's going to be out for a while.
Steven.
Coach, kind of along those same lines, you had a few guys like Danye Taylor wearing street clothes. What's his status for this week?
He's the same as all those guys are. We hope they're back. We'll just see. The medical staff will let me know, and if they can go, they'll go.
Greg.
Jeff, I wanted to go back to GJ. You touched on your guys' relationship earlier. Is it different going against him a second time compared to your first head-to-head matchup last year in terms of the emotions and things like that?
I think the biggest difference is last year everybody thought we were going to win because we were at home. We just come off a tough loss to Houston. They just upset Baylor, but everybody still thought we were going to win as we were at home, and now nobody thinks we're going to win. So that's the biggest change. We lost a lot of players. All of his are coming back. We're breaking in offensive linemen, new quarterbacks, new receivers, and he's just greasing up a bunch of veterans over there licking his chops right now. So I think that's the biggest difference.
I was going to ask about that to that point. Is it strange to be in a position where somebody you've coached and mentored and tried to help along the way in this profession is now kind of in a position where they're considered the favorite against you guys by a lot of people?
No, I'm thrilled for him. I mean, I'm really happy for him. He's done a fantastic job in that portal. I mean, he's adapted to the new age of college football very fast. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's always been who GJ is, and I'm really happy for him. I just wish I was returning 18 starters and had everybody back. But when you coach long enough, he's still a young buck, right? He hadn't done this as long as I have, so he hadn't had to go through that yet. He's been the superstar every turn his whole life. So maybe I can sneak one out on him this Saturday. But if not, it'd be nothing to thrill my soul more for it to be happy for GJ.
Colton.
Coach, what makes this Texas State offense so unique to you in your opinion?
The style. I've coached that style before. It's very similar to how GJ and I played together in high school. I just have changed as I've gotten older, and we've adapted to some more other things. But the young Jeff Traylor, back when I was flat belly like GJ and had hair like GJ, would probably still be just like him, just having a blast and slinging that sucker deep and playing fast as possible. Much respect, G. We just don't play that way as much anymore. But it's the style, and Mac does a great job of calling it. And they've got two fantastic receivers that make them go. They got a running back that's really freaking good. Their O-line's massive. He's done a great job of getting those guys in there. And then he went and got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So good luck stopping these guys.
Greg.
Jeff, people often say teams make the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2. How significant is that interval in your eyes, and how do you maximize that this week?
We're going to have to get on a trampoline to jump as high as we need to right now. We got to jump. I mean, we got to get jumping. So, that's why you guys hire me. I got to get in there and figure it out for you guys.
When you're talking to the guys about this game that's coming up, do you sort of steer into the stakes and the rivalry aspect of it, or do you try to have to find a way to make sure they're not putting too much on this and keep the emotions in check? How do you balance that?
I'm sure that's why I have a media that thinks I'm the most boring coach in the history of football, because you already know the answer to the question before you ask it. Did we measure up to the 2-1-0 triangle of toughness culture? I would say we did not do that. Last week, we were disappointed in the way we played. I thought the defense upheld theirs, minus their penalties for emotion. I thought the offense upheld theirs for one quarter. And I thought our special teams, other than our Delta unit, which is our kickoff return team, was not good. And I'm the head football coach, so that's all on me. And that's where we stay. We stay in our lane. We're trying to coach our team. We're trying to get better. I've told y'all, I hope my players do it too. Our staff mutes every single outside entity. We don't want any noise coming in our locker room. Is that possible, Greg, to really keep all that out? I doubt it, but we're pretty committed to our culture and staying within our locker room. And I know I sound like a caveman, old, and it's boring, but it's just what I think is best to control the controllables and to continue to get better each week. And like I said, being funny, but not being funny, we had to take a huge jump this week if we're even going to be able to compete with these guys Saturday.
It's very rare to come into a matchup this early in the season and feel like the stakes are this high. How do you make sure the group mentally is kind of ready to rise to that level, or how do you approach that part of the challenge?
It's a road game. Anytime you go on the road in college football into a hostile environment, you better be tough. You better be able to play great defense. You better be able to run the football. And you better be great on teams. Well, we were 1 out of 3 last week. That's not going to be good enough. We've got to get better. That's where it's at.
Colton.
Coach, this game's going to be broadcast on ESPNU, giving a national spotlight on both universities. What does it mean that, this game is going to be broadcast for millions of people to see, what Texas State and UTSA are all about?
Our president has made it very clear that he believes our football team is the front porch of the university. So it's very important that we go out there and look the part for our university. We have an exciting university. We have an unbelievable city. Our merger with UT Health is a national story, and it's very important that we go out and represent. Doesn't mean you have to win the ball game. There's a certain way it's supposed to look. There's a certain way we're supposed to conduct ourselves, and we understand we've got to get better in all those areas right now.
JJ.
Just the magnitude of this game for both programs. I don't think the college football playoff is can be clinched this week, but it certainly could set both you guys back in this season. What does it say about both programs that you guys are being able to play in such a important game this early in the season?
Well, we're all grateful that we're included, that we even have an opportunity to be one of the 12. As I said to y'all earlier in the year when we talked about this, there are no mulligans for schools in our classification. So to your point, yeah, you're in a playoff. You're in a 12-game playoff the entire year, and you just got to win in advance. So whichever team wins will advance for the week, and then whichever team loses, it would be really hard to overcome that to get in the 12. There are just so many other things, JJ, that are outside of our control that you never know, like who has 2 losses, who has 1, who has 0. It doesn't mean it's a nail in the coffin for sure, but it would definitely put some pretty good glue on the coffin.
Greg.
Jeff, is there any way to prepare for the heat you're likely to face in this game Saturday? Do you have to adjust anything about kind of the game day process or how you get warmed up or anything like that?
Unless GJ is going to be very nice and let us get on their home side and all that shade, I'm afraid we're just going to have to buck it up and be tough, boys. Obviously, you're going to have to stay hydrated. Common sense things that I know you guys are way smarter than me. You've already thought through all that stuff. So, but you got to be smart. To think if I go out there and start practicing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day, that's going to make us more prepared for Saturday would not be the way Jeff Traylor thinks in his mind. I would say that. We'll continue our morning workouts. We'll continue flying around. We played 29 players on defense Saturday. We played 24 players on offense. We probably played another 25 on special teams. I know that drives you guys insane, but that's going to be a very important, I believe, in the fourth quarter come Saturday.
You mentioned the amount of guys you played, and with Danye out, we got a lot of look at Marcellus Wilkerson. What were your impressions of the way that he played in this game, kind of answering that challenge?
It doesn't surprise me at all how him or Pee Wee played. Those guys have been very good players for us for a long time. I'm very grateful to have both of them. Appreciate them staying with me. I understand they've been playing behind Danye for a while, and most of the time in college football now, they just leave and go somewhere else. And those guys have been very committed and stayed, and I'm grateful for them to get the success they're having right now. It's a testimony to guys that stay and play.
You talked after the game about some of the penalties and the emotions that led to that. What can you say or do with the team going forward to try to create some improvement there?
Again, I know you're very sick of covering me after 5 years, Greg, but because I say the same stuff over and over. Pre-snap penalties, I can't deal with. Post-snap penalties, I can't deal with. They're both very different, right? But they're both mental toughness. Pre-snap is focus and concentration. Post-snap is usually emotion. Press, pause. No different than when you or JJ make me angry with sometimes y'all smart aleck questions where y'all are acting like y'all are being nice, but you're really being sarcastic in a nice way. I have to press pause and be kind and speak back calmly. It's the same with my players. When you're on the other team's sideline, it's going to get crazy over there. We've got to press pause and come out of there calmly. Pre-snap, we've got to be more disciplined. It's mental toughness. It's one of our culture pillars. I'd say the Roadrunners, F might be too strong, but a D- would be about where we were controlling our mental toughness Saturday.
As you look back at it, were you guys able to isolate what led to the 2 misses from the field goal unit, or how do you evaluate that coming away from the game?
You know, there's something there because Chase was not good in his first game last year. But from then on, he was phenomenal. So obviously, we've got to look at something we're not doing with Chase correctly in fall camp. Chase is very mentally tough. He's a really good kicker. I fully expect him to bounce back strongly.
We didn't see Kavorian Barnes on the field much after his fumble. What sort of went into that decision, or how could that impact his opportunities going forward?
I believe in Kavorian, first of all. I know he fumbled again this week, and he fumbled 3 times last year. If you study each fumble, you can make a really good case for each one of them. The problem is you just can't do it. And we've got other backs we're trying to evaluate as well. And I just want to make sure publicly everybody knows I support Kavorian Barnes. He will be back on the field, and he will be carrying the ball.
This popped up a couple times early last year, and then it seemed like he got it ironed out pretty quickly and was pretty strong in that regard for most of the season. Is there just something about kind of adjusting to live action and the physicality again?
I think it's more his style of play. He's an incredible competitor. He loves contact. He looks for contact. It's a fine line because you're trying to keep his toughness, but he needs to avoid some of that. I mean, he had the first down. Then he went looking for more trouble. Most running backs run away from it. Kavorian looks for it. Maybe I should put him at linebacker. But we've got to get him out of some of that. But just like kind of with Frank. I know you guys used to, Frank running there with his shoulders up and trying to run over people. He's a quarterback. You could coach them all you want to, man. Those guys have been doing this for a long time. And it's hard to get them to change. And I think I might have got Frank to slide a couple times and run out of bounds a couple of times. But other than that, maybe I'm just not a good enough coach. I just think that it's hard to get kids to change what they've been doing their whole lives. And Kavorian's, it's the old greatest strength, greatest weakness thing that I always say. Kavorian's greatest strength is the competitor and his toughness. His greatest weakness is the competitor and the toughness.
JJ?
Jeff, a lot of the UTSA fan base they got a lot of angst after week 1. I guess what would be your message to them as you guys head into a big game for week 2?
The same thing I told my players and my staff. You know you coach at a really good place when you win and your fans aren't happy, your coaching staff's not happy, your media's not happy, your players are not happy, my wife's not happy, Izzy's not happy. I mean, you know, it was her 4th birthday yesterday, and I mean, Izzy didn't even want me to be there to blow out the candles. I mean, I'm in the doghouse with her too. That's a bad feeling. I'm being serious. I know I'm not, but I am. But 5 years here, we've won a lot of games, and I'm glad we have a fan base that expects more. I'm glad I have a team that expects more. I'm glad I have a coaching staff that expects more, and I think everybody knows their head coach expects more as well.
All right, anything else for Coach Traylor? Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate y'all. God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Jeff.